Today, we're making the dragon handle from 7 Deadly Sins, and we're going to be making it out of EVA foam. Hey everyone, how's it going? If you've watched the anime 7 Deadly Sins, you're undoubtedly a fan of Meliodas' dragon handle broken sword. And I really wanted to make one, and so I started scouring the internet for 3D print files, and then I realized it would actually be a really great project to just build out of foam. And since I've done foam builds before, but just not on this channel before, and I've never made a video on it, I thought it might be a really cool opportunity to show you guys how easy and awesome it is to make some simple props out of EVA foam. So like most foam projects, we're gonna start off with a template, and to make this template, I got a reference image and I traced it out in Adobe Illustrator and just scaled everything to more or less the right size. And if you wanna know how to do this, I will have a link in the description and in the cards to Benny from Kamui Cosplay. He did a great video on how to do this using both Illustrator and Inkscape. So I won't bother explaining that, I'll just let him do it. But if all you're interested in making is this dragon handle that I'm making in this video, I will have a link to a free template in the description that you can go and print out and make yourself. So I've gone ahead and cut out my templates, and I'm going to trace them out onto my foam now. I'm just using these floor tiles that I still had laying around. If you want to actually check out some really good foam for this sort of thing, go and check out TNT Cosplay Supply. They have some great foam that doesn't come with this texture on here like your typical floor tiles will. Because my floor tiles have this texture, I'll actually need to trace out my pattern reflected, and I am cutting out 2 pieces per section of pattern here for my handle, and that is to just give the handle a little bit more thickness and to hide the pattern on the inside of the handle. There's actually a couple of ways we can cut this out. You could just use something like a X-Acto knife or a utility knife. I'm gonna actually just cut this out on the bandsaw because I can get that done really quick, or you can just use something like an X-Acto knife. So I think I'm gonna do both and show you guys how to do both. But if all you have an X-Acto knife or a utility knife, you are good to go.
Snow, red sky, reach up for so high, blue eyes, fake cry, beware of the fox tonight. Cold feet, a dark rain, my blood in your frozen veins, dream high, no pain, run fast in the broken chains.
Now comes time to actually glue on the scales, and to glue all those on, I'm just going to be using some super glue, and the scales are just cut out of some thin 1mm craft foam, and I cut them out on my vinyl cutter because it would be very painstaking to cut out all these by hand. I suppose you could, or you could also make like a little metal stamp and just stamp them out of a piece of foam. I'm just going to sit down and spend the next day of my life gluing these on.
Sneak out, keep fighting. I'm willing to take a chance, break free.
One eternity later.
It's a day later now. It didn't actually take me a whole day to do it, but it did take me a very long time to glue on all these different spikes. And I think they turned out pretty well. There are some gaps here and there. I think that stuff will go away once we do the paint job. The next step is to add on my spikes. And to make my spikes, I'm going to cut the little triangles off. Alright, so I did try to make the cones out of foam, but I just had a hard time shaping them and getting them the size that I wanted. So what I would have ideally done is used some foam clay, but I don't have any. So what I did is I used some just normal like modeling clay, and I made my horns out of that. And I really like it because they ended up looking a little bit more natural instead of just artificial and really, really straight edged. And now the next step for this handle, before I start working on the hilt and the blade, is to go ahead and plasti dip it. Alright, so as the handle plasti dip was drying, I started working on the hilt and blade, and I cut out all my pieces using the template. I used 3 layers for the hilt portion, just a single one for the blade, and then these 2 doohickeys on either side. For my screw holes, I used the body of a ballpoint pen and the ink cartridge of a ballpoint pen, and then I opened those up with a heat gun, and then I had to shave out this whole area right here just to make it easier for this thing to fit over the handle when I glue them together. But for now, I'm just gonna leave this alone. It will get painted and so will the handle, but everything needs another coat of plasti dip, so I'm gonna do that. And when that dries, I'll mask everything off and get to painting. So I masked off the hilt and painted the gold, then masked off the hilt and painted the silver part. Then I went over with a brush and a little bit of silver paint to just kind of paint the head of the bolts that are supposed to be there, and also gave it a little bit of a weathering pass with some rub and buff, nothing too special or crazy. Then I glued it on, and the final thing that I need to add to this are the red eyes, which are just some little pieces of foam with beveled edges that I painted red. I'm really happy with how this project turned out. I especially love the look of the scales. It gives it a nice 3-dimensional look. And it was a pretty quick and simple build to make. It only took about a day, and I built it using materials that I had laying around the house. Thank you all so much for watching the video. If you guys enjoyed it and don't want to miss out on other videos like it, make sure to click down here to subscribe. And if you want to go watch some more project videos, make sure to click up here. Thank you guys again so much for watching. I will see y'all in the next video.